All right. Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Ruach Kodash. I'd like to say double honors to my teachers, the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from, that rule well and teach well. And I'd also like to say shalom and salutations to the elect that's out there preaching this word in truth and sincerity. All right, I'm the brother Shaquat, one of the brothers from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal. Back once again with another lesson. And this lesson that I'll be getting into today is going to be a lesson going into the importance of being rooted. Right, and I'm just going to jump straight into it without further ado. I pretty much just asked ChatGPT the question, why is it important for a tree to be rooted? All right, and it also gave me the literal breakdown and definition of why it's important for a tree to be rooted, and it also gave me the symbolic meaning of why it's important for a tree to be rooted. All right, so jumping into it, it says a tree must be rooted because its roots serve four essential purposes that determine whether the tree lives, grows, and bears fruit. Stability and strength, right? It says roots anchor a tree firmly into the ground. Without deep, healthy roots, a tree can be toppled by wind or storms. Leaning, unstable, or easily rooted. Strong roots allow a tree to grow tall without falling. Height without roots is dangerous, right? And like the scriptures speak about, the scriptures often symbolizes or refer to men as trees, and as the tree, right? It's important for us that are in this truth to be rooted, just like a tree. And I'm speaking to myself first and foremost, because like it says, right, it will be easy for without deep roots, deep and healthy roots, it's easy for you to be pretty much easily uprooted or tossed to and fro by storms or wind, right? Matter of fact, before I keep going, let me get this real quick in the book of Psalms chapter 1 and verse 3. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at 1. Psalms 1 and verse 1. It says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. Right. So, especially being in this truth, you're supposed to avoid, being amongst the ungodly as much as you can. Right. Meaning friends that you used to hang out with that are not in the truth, you shouldn't be around them kicking it just like you did in the world. That shouldn't be a thing, because there's a difference between you and them, right? You're now godly and they're ungodly, right? You've been made holy, you've been set apart from them, right? And the people you surround yourself with, you're gonna be like unto them, right? Like it says, like that saying in the world goes, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are, right? So being in this truth, you're not supposed to be around the ungodly or sinners, or scornful. You're supposed to be separate. So you shouldn't be running with the same crowd you ran with in the world, but you're supposed to be around godly men, right? Like it says in Sirach, be around godly men, those that to keep the commandments of Yahweh Bashim Ashai, right? Those that are like you. Scriptures also speak about animals being around the same pack, right? You're not going to see a hyena with lions, but you're going to see hyenas with hyenas, and you're going to see lions with lions, man, right? And that's the same for us as individuals. You have to be around men that are like you, men that are like-minded, right? And that's also a mindset that the elders, apostles, bishops of Great Millstone push. Surround yourself with the men of the Lord, right? Verse 2, and like-minded men, right? Verse 2, Psalms 1 and verse 2. But his delight is in the law of the Lord Yahweh, and in his law doeth he meditate day and night, right? Verse 3, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. That's right, So as you can see here, is symbolizing a man onto a tree. But this man was a righteous man, a man that delighted in the law of Yahweh Bashim Shai and meditated in the law of Yahweh Bashim Shai constantly, a man that surrounded himself with the men of the Lord, and he's compared to a person he's compared to a tree that's actually planted by a water, by the waters, rivers of water. And the tree that's planted by rivers of water is what? It's a tree that's constantly receiving nourishment, and that's always constantly going to bear fruit and grow stronger, right? Because that's what water is, right? Water gives life onto a tree, right? And that's how it grows. That's how its roots expand. And that's the same with a man, right? If you're around the men of the Lord, you're pretty much receiving nourishment. If you're constantly meditating on the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashim Shai, that's nourishment. If you're reading, that's nourishment, right? So let me get one more real quick, just to, prove the point that men could be symbolic to trees. This is Mark 8 and verse 24, and it reads, matter of fact, I'm gonna start at verse 22. And he cometh to Bethsaida, and they bring a blind man unto him, and besought him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand, and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes, he put his hands upon him, and asked him if he saw aught. And he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. Right, so he saw men as trees walking, that's another example to prove that men could be symbolic to trees, right? So let's go back to the chat GPT. Point number two, right? It says there were 4 determining factors of why it's important for a tree to be rooted, and we're on point number 2. It says nourishment and water. Roots absorb water, minerals, and nutrients. These are transported upward to sustain the trunk, branches, leaves, and fruit. Without roots, even a healthy-looking tree will slowly wither, right? And like I just went into, right, it's important for a tree to receive nourishment, and that's the same with the men of the Lord, right? Or a man that's in the truth. It's important for you to receive nourishment. Number 3, it says growth and longevity. Deep roots allow a tree to survive droughts, poor soil conditions, harsh seasons. Shallow roots lead to shallow growth and a short lifespan. Deep roots support endurance over time, right? That's important. That's why that's another reason why it's important to have deep roots, man. Because with having deep roots, you'll be able to last longer, right? It is pretty much also synonymous with having a solid foundation. With a solid foundation, it's hard to shake or break whatever building or so on and so forth, right? And that's the case with the men of the Lord. If you have a solid foundation, if your roots are deep, it's going to be hard to sway you, right? And that's why, for the men that are actually truly, sincerely in the truth with their whole heart, they've done that, man. The spirit of through the spirit, they've grown roots or are growing roots to where they can't be shaken and moved or swayed by any other doctrine, man. Right? Because that's important. That's why it's important to be rooted too, right? Because the doctrine, So, you know, you might, like scriptures speak about itching ears. If you're a novice in the truth, you know, you might get swayed, man, and tossed to and fro, like the scriptures say. Matter of fact, let me get that. Ephesians 4:14. It says that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness whereby they lie in wait to deceive, right? You know, so that's why, and you know, when you're first hearing about the truth, you gotta be able to pinpoint who the real teachers are and stick with them. Once you've, you know, through the process of elimination, made your judgment, because there is one doctrine, there is a one group of teachers that has the truth, right? But once you've made that, you stick to that. Once the Spirit shows you that, you stick to that, man. You know, so that you grow and you're nourished through those teachers. Matter of fact, let me get this real quick. This is 2 Timothy 3 and verse 14. It says, "But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and has been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith which is in Hamashiach." Yo. How you doing? I don't speak French, bro.
You don't speak French?
No.
Alright, I might need your help with getting out, because the thing is that the two cars, like, they park really close to me, so I don't have a lot of gap to go out. And I just want you to tell me, like, how much I can go from the back before hitting this car.
Alright, I'm gonna help you. Alright, I'm gonna come. Just give me like 2 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Alright. Right, you know, so as a babe, you know, you gotta be careful, you know, because damn, I lost my chain of thought, man. Right, because, you know, everybody starts off as a child, and a child has to be nourished to grow, man. You know, but like I was saying before, you have to be able to pinpoint who the right teachers are and stick with them, you know. And once you stick with them, and that's gonna allow you to grow, man, you know. So I'm gonna end it off here. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Ruach. Once again, double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone.